Morning, legislators, Madam Chair. Before I get started, I just want to acknowledge President Matt Porter and the rest of the probation officers that are here. On behalf of the DSPBA, we support you, and we certainly share in your frustration. 6 years is quite a long time. I wanted to give this committee an update on the status of our negotiations and the basis of filing a federal lawsuit against the county executive. First, I appreciate the request from Legislator Browning, Legislator Selmy, to have representatives from the county provide some insight as to why we are 6 years without a contract. It is no surprise that that request was denied. On our end, I can tell you there has been no significant progress made in collective bargaining or for a settlement for Highway Patrol. Additionally, as of December 31st, 2015, our $4 million in retroactive pay was not paid as part of the 2011 Memorandum of Agreement. I was informed the reason for the $4 million not being paid was due to pending litigation. So let's take a moment and try and follow that logic. In 2011, the DSPBA enters into an agreement with the county. In 2012, the county negotiates a contract with the Suffolk County PBA, which violates that agreement. They state the justification in doing so was that they don't believe our memorandum of agreement was valid. But then they do not return the money. So now we have all these different legal actions going on simultaneously as a result of the violation of this agreement. We have an action in Supreme Court, which we won, but the county now is appealing that. We have improper practice charges in PERB, and now we have a federal lawsuit. Astoundingly, the county has managed to violate the same agreement twice, and the reason for not paying the money is, again, due to pending litigation. But this pending litigation was created as a result of their actions. It's interesting. So the DSPBA has now decided to file a federal lawsuit to reclaim the $4 million along with interest, punitive damages, attorney fees, and all other associated costs. So now the taxpayers of Suffolk County will have to pay more money than had it been paid when it was due in December. So during a time of a financial crisis, this seems a rather poor management of the county's already strained budget. I also would like to address one other issue. When a lawsuit was announced in the media, the statement from the county was, and I will quote, "These claims are yet another attempt to bully the administration into an unfair contract for the taxpayers." Legislators, I can tell you, I find that both insulting and utterly absurd to suggest that our 250-member union are the ones who are the bullies. In fact, I think it's quite the opposite. Our members are the ones who are 6 years without a contract and have had our hard-earned money unlawfully withheld by the Bellone administration, not the other way around. I also want to state for the record that if speaking out on something that is unjust on behalf of the hardworking men and women whom I represent makes me a bully, then guilty as charged. I was raised to know the difference between right and wrong, and what is happening here to the deputy sheriffs and the probation officers in Suffolk County is the very definition of wrong. I thank you for your continued support.
Thank you, John. You mentioned the interest, and I don't know if George, keep me right. With the federal lawsuit, what is the interest on $4 million? I mean, what would the interest be as you go through the process if it takes a year or 2 years?
Yeah, at least the standard interest is 9%. So that clock started as of January 1st of this year. So we're already going to be paying more.
Okay, and I don't know what the interest, if we were to bond $4 million now for the deputy sheriffs, what would our interest rate be? Do you need some time? Okay. We'll give them some time, but I would like to know what that could be, because clearly if the clock is ticking at 9% a year versus whatever the county's interest on a bond would be, would maybe give them a little kick in the behind. to do something. So, is there any questions? Tom?
John, thanks for being here again. I apologize that the efforts of this committee didn't bear any fruit in terms of at least getting some information from the administration as to where they stand in this negotiation. I mentioned before that to allude to tone with respect to the probation officer's contract, that a negotiation is a give and take, a back and forth. Can you speak to, since I don't have anybody from the administration here to discuss it back and forth, can you speak to the nature of that give and take over the past, since you've been working on this?
Yeah, well, I think you brought up an excellent point. When you look at the definition of what a negotiation is, that's not what's going on here. There is no back and forth, and I think that's why there has been such a stalemate. And for a deal to be made, there's going to be give and take on both sides. It can't be all give and take on the part of the union.
Well, at that point, it would be all give, I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
So,
Mostly, yeah, all give. All take on the county.
Right. So when was the last time the county executive's office made a proposal to the union?
We provided a proposal. We have yet to receive a counter.
Right. Well, so you provided, was there any proposal at all from the county executive's office? Ever?
No. There is no written proposal that has been submitted to us.
So you submitted a written proposal to the county executive's office.
Correct.
When did that happen?
As of very recently, we submitted a proposal that encompasses both a collective bargaining agreement and a settlement for highway.
Have you proposed more than one proposal?
Yes, we have. We've proposed multiple.
Over time? Yes. 2, 3, 4?
Yes, at least.
Okay.
This negotiation has been going on long before I was even president.
Right, I understand that. And to your knowledge, there has been no response in terms of a written counter proposal?
None that I've received.
And since you've been president, have there been, sitting across a table, sort of negotiating type sessions?
Yes, we have had negotiation sessions, both formal and informal.
Okay. And when was the last time that happened?
I believe mid-March was our last session.
Are you at liberty to share the nature of that conversation? Was there any willingness on the part of the administration to offer alternatives to what you have proposed, what your latest proposal was?
I believe what the county is asking for makes it impossible for us to negotiate a deal.
Okay, so if I'm just reading between the lines a little bit, it sounds to me like they've drawn a line in the sand somewhere with respect to some element of your contract, and you're not willing to, to live with that.
Correct.
Okay. So it's been 6 years. It's been 6 years for the probation officers almost. What happens? I mean, at some point, is there arbitration, or do you not have arbitration? Is that not an option for you?
Arbitration is an option. However, we feel if it's the county's position that long-term deals were able to be negotiated with all the other unions, why are we any different? Why should we have to go down the path of arbitration to only get a 3-year deal and then be right out of a contract again? you're right back where you started. Um, we're simply asking to receive the same treatment. You were able to negotiate with other unions. Why are we any different?
Yeah, I don't blame you. No, I mean, no. Part of the reason that we all supported the contracts that we have supported was to avoid arbitration. And arbitration in your case would mean what, a 3-year settlement? Is it always 3 years, or could it be 6 years?
It's usually a 2-year deal.
Okay.
We're entitled to a 3-year arbitration. But again, that would only cover years 11, 12, 13.
Right, so you'd still be 3 years behind in
Correct.
your. Okay, talk to me a little bit more. Get in the weeds a little bit more with respect to the $4 million thing. So, a court ruled that the county owes your members $4 million.
No, this was part of the memorandum of agreement we signed in 2000.
Well, I understand that there was a memorandum of agreement, but hasn't that been before a court?
Yes. So Judge Mayer in Supreme Court ruled that that was a valid agreement. The county has now appealed that decision, and it is in the appellate courts, to which we're waiting a date for oral arguments.
When was that appeal filed?
Shortly thereafter the decision.
Which was,
I don't recall
do you remember,
the exact date.
do you have a month, a year even?
The decision came out in March of 14,
Okay.
and the appeal was filed shortly thereafter.
Okay, so 2 years ago, there was a court decision that basically said to the county that we should pay you the $4 million because the agreement was valid.
Right. The judge directed the county to proceed to arbitration. When they appealed that decision, that arbitration was stayed. So we have yet to get our remedy. This is what leads to the frustration is there has been at every turn a roadblock, an appeal, a continuance. We're just unable to have our case heard. So when we did finally get a decision in our favor, that was appealed, and it seems to be the direction that to prolong this process for as long as possible.
And you said you're waiting for a date from the court for oral arguments on the appeal? Is that?
Yes.
Can I ask through the chair? I mean, we do have at least one person from the county attorney's office here. You may not be familiar with this particular matter, but it's sort of a general question. If the appeal was filed in 2014, is it normal for it to take this long to even give a date for an oral argument? Maybe Mr. Braun could speak to that.
Good morning, legislator. You're right. I'm not familiar with this particular appeal or this litigation at all, personally. But when a court renders a decision, a notice of appeal has to be filed within a short time. Then briefs have to be written. The record has to be prepared. All that gets submitted to the court. There may be motions along the way. And ultimately, the court sets the matter down for oral argument. And a couple of years is not an unusual amount of time for that.
Okay, and so you personally then would not have any information as to whether or not the court is close to
no idea. I will certainly
setting a date.
Certainly, legislator, I could inquire for you, but I just don't have that information right now.
If you could do that,
Sure.
That would be fantastic. I'd at least like to know that this is going to happen in the near future. I mean, if nothing else, our employees deserve to know that there's a light sort of at the end of a tunnel, whether that's a positive, whether that's the bright light of the sun, or if it's a freight train coming in the other direction. One way or the other, they ought to know.
I will see what information I can find for you, and we'll get back to you.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you. John, I think that's all I had for you, but thank you. Thanks for your patience.
I appreciate it. Thank you for your support.
Don't go anywhere, John. Presiding Officer Gregory has a question.
Hey, John. Thank you for coming again today. I know you and your members are frustrated that this process hasn't been resolved yet. I spoke to someone very involved in negotiations the other day, and although this person explained to me that they want to talk, that they want to move forward, but there are some very serious concerns as to the offers, and as it relates to breaking patterns, and I don't understand all the negotiations. So to them, it's really just a matter of, they don't want to break any patterns, interest bargaining or whatever the term is, because that could open up other potential contracts. So that is a difficult ask for them, but they are willing to sit down. They want to talk. They want to get it resolved. I brought up the $4 million issue. So I don't know if they've reached out to you. This was just the other day.
Nothing recent, but we certainly appreciate you looking into it and speaking on our behalf as well. We're always willing to sit down and continue negotiations.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And Rob and Kara were present. They are my witness to that conversation as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, no more questions? Okay, well, John, I appreciate it, and I think I understand one of the concerns in the patterns is the corrections officer's contract.
Sure.
That traditionally you make less, and now their start pay is like $30,000, correct?
Right. The starting pay for correction officers as per the new contract is now $30,000. Just for the record, deputy sheriff's already at $30,000. And in regards to the patterns, correction officers didn't always make more than deputy sheriffs. That's something that's transpired within the last few contracts or arbitration decisions. So that wasn't always the case. So one making more or less than the other does not break the pattern.
Okay, well, I appreciate it. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
We do not have